Hey guys, I've been wanting to make a video for a while. I got, after a long process of actually getting an arcade cabinet that I didn't love and returning that last year, I went through a huge amount of shopping for this one. And I had a bunch of different options that I thought I was going to get. And I ended up getting the Rec Room Masters 2-player upright 32-inch Xtension cabinet. And I wanted to make a review on the cabinet and also on the software that I'm using to run it. And hopefully this helps some newbies like myself jump in, because it's really not that difficult if you just take a little tiny bit of time to learn just a little bit of software. So anyway, so the cabinet, this is the 2-player version. And when you get a Rec Room Masters system, you don't get a complete plug and play, ready to play thing. You get the cabinet and everything, all the artwork, if you choose to have artwork done. You don't get the speakers, you don't get the monitor, and you don't get the computer. So you do have to pay for that, but you're talking about something that is so much cheaper than the alternatives, and in my opinion, much better. And let me tell you why I think it's so much better, or in the very least, why it's so great. So I have the Emulator Plus edition here. And we're going to go into the controls and what those all are. But first, let me just tell you what I think is good, or maybe what I think needs a little bit of work cabinet-wise. So first of all, this thing is like you know, it's very heavy and it's very solid. So when you're leaning up against it playing, there's no moving around, none of that crap. It is solid. I had them put artwork on it. I was deliberating back and forth with what to get, but this is just so badass that I had them do this. And it's not just a Space Invaders game. This is basically a MAME cabinet, but I wanted it to look, you know, old school. Oh, ignore the gooseneck phone holder. That's going to be for a little bit later here. I wanted it to have that old school feel, and I went back and forth on trying to figure out which artwork to get. And with them, actually, I will say, you know, I sent them the art I wanted, and they sent back a proof. And I said, no, it's not quite right. And then I pointed out what my issue was. They sent it back. That happened about 3 times. They were very fast with that until they got it exactly perfect. And I hope you can see here, the quality of it is great. I mean, it is strong as hell. They will tell you if you over tighten these screws, it can pop up a bit around the screws, and it has on a couple of them, but not on most of them. And I don't have an issue with that. You know, you're going to have little things that come up, but generally speaking, I mean, it's the quality of the material is it's just completely finished feeling. So so I got the Space Invaders art, and I love it. I love the marquee. I just think it looks so badass and old school. I would love a dynamic marquee, to be honest. And I looked into some that had that, but for now, I'm happier with this. I don't like having a smaller dynamic marquee than the size of this. I want it to look, you know, correct. So that's a theme, by the way, that you're going to notice, is that I'm fucking OCD about a lot of stupid things that aren't important. But maybe I'll upgrade this to a dynamic full-size one down the road. But for now, that is the marquee. And I have nothing but positive things to say about this cabinet, except the only thing that's lame, and everyone who reviews this cabinet says the same thing. This keyboard tray here doesn't come with any sort of these. It doesn't come with these or any sort of handle. So you have to put your hand under it, both hands, and push back because it's magnetically closed. I can't even do it with one hand. So, you know, invest $3, buy some brackets, and then you can pull it down as easy as you want whenever you want. The other sort of chintzy thing is that the pull-out drawer is I don't know what this is, cheap-ass wood. It's fine. It hasn't really, you know, been an issue, but that is the only lame thing I've found about this cabinet. Everything else is super top of the line, especially this controller. So let's take a look at the controller. This is the Emulator Plus edition. And what that means, I'll turn that off so I don't look at the white lights right now, but we'll get into what that means. But you know, you have your 1 and your 2 player with your 6 buttons. Then you have a trackball with which both players can use. Same with the spinner over here, which is great for Tempest and things like that. And then you got your 4-way controller. Now, admittedly, I was super hyped on this when I got it for all the old school games, but there's really not that many games that you need the 4-way on or you get screwed. Burger Time is one of them, so, and I love that game. So it's great to have. I don't use it a ton, if I'm being honest. These buttons, this A and B, and this A2, B2, you can map them to whatever you want, depending on what software you're using. You can use them in whatever way you want. But really, it's all about these buttons. So this is the coolest thing about these Rec Room Masters cabinets, is that they're pre-configured already to be totally compatible with MAME. MAME, for those who don't know, is the multiple arcade machine emulator software that runs basically all old school arcade games up through the early 90s, maybe mid 90s, but all the old school shit that you love, Galaga, Centipede, all of that. And it all works out of the box. And the nice thing here is you have these dedicated buttons that are telling you what they do, and they do that. So I've had arcades with just a bunch of buttons, and you're supposed to remember, oh, this one is, wait, this one is select, and this one is, no. This is all just done for you. So, you got your coin 1 for player 1, start for player 1, likewise. You want to leave, you want to escape, it's always exit. Here's a nice thing. Let's say, because a running theme in a lot of these arcade videos, when you buy a pre-made one, is that things don't work, because you can't have 70,000 games and have them all work correctly. It's just someone has to fix those. So this system, let's say it's not working properly, it's not controlling properly. The process is always the same for MAME games. You just go here and you hit menu. That brings this up. Using your joystick, you just change the input for this machine. Hit select again. Then change what you want. I want player 1, button 1 to be, let's hit this, select. So now it's open to an input, and I want it to be this button. Oh, now it is. So all I do now is go down here, return to previous menu, hit select, return to machine. So now this game is fixed forever. Don't have to deal with this one again. I would say out of the, I don't know how many MAME games there are in my set, 2,700 or whatever it is. I'd say I've had to change the controller mappings on a dozen, maybe. Most of them just work. So that's really awesome. If you're into MAME, then I think this is really just an easy way to go. So again, it doesn't come with the speakers. My speakers are in here in the marquee, and they're pointing down through these grills. And then the subwoofer is down here with my used Alienware Micro, whatever PC I got on next door. It's a lot of subwoofer for this cabinet. I don't usually play very loud, but it's cool having it. It doesn't come with a monitor. This is the monitor I already used for gaming. It's just some shitty Roku 1080p monitor, but it looks great. It works great. So all that told, this cabinet without the monitor, speakers, and computer was, I think, $1,600 delivered with all the art. So all told, it was just over $2,100, I think, for everything. But with that, you kind of have to know how to deal with, how do you set it up? If you've never done this before, how do you do it so that you know what you're doing, you know how your system works, and you can fix problems? That's kind of the issue, right? Damn, that glare. So anyway, let's get into the software side. The last thing I want to say is, I have it all plugged into a power strip and I can turn it all off at the same time. But my whole thing is, this is my home office here, and I like the idea of this arcade just being on all the time. But, you don't want to leave it on all the time, energy-wise. Also, it's Windows. Windows is fucking stupid. It gets stupid after time, and it can get slow. Normal crap can happen. So after a little bit of research, because I'm a Mac person, I'm not a PC person, I figured out how to set it to automatically turn everything off. Well, the computer. So basically everything turns off except for the arcade cabinet. So the marquee will stay lit and the buttons on the controller will stay on, but the computer itself and the monitor, that all goes to sleep at 1:30 in the morning, and at 7 in the morning or 7:59, I forget, it all turns back on. So as far as I'm concerned, it's always on, and that's a big draw for me. So now let's talk about the software. Let's get out of here, hitting the exit button, and let's get out of this whole program that we'll talk about hitting the exit button. So here we are, your standard Windows PC. I really, when I was shopping for the cabinets and all the pre-mades, they all use Hyperspin. And it's not, I'm not going to sit here and say Hyperspin sucks or whatever, but I always was bothered. And my last arcade cab had a Hyperspin. And it was like you'd power it up and these fucking movies would play. And there would be music playing on every, on the spin menu and when you change. So it was cacophonous. It was overloading sound and it was just clunky. I didn't like it. So I wanted something that was just, I don't know, more elegant. Is that a lame thing to say? Here, I don't even know if I showed, over here is my volume. This is just a volume knob, a Windows volume knob. And I use that because, all games are different volumes and emulators are different volumes. So I like just having that right there. But I wanted something sleek. I wanted something easy that I could learn. So what I use is Launchbox. I pay for the big box version, which gives you what we're about to see now, but the Launchbox part is free and that's great too. But if you're gonna have an arcade and you wanna have a tracked mode where it starts like changing through games while you're not using it, then I recommend using big box. But just to break down what we're looking at here, whoops, let's do that. Okay, so all we have here is when it boots up, you see the platforms I have on this rig. So I have arcade, which is MAME, Atari 2600, and these are all platforms that I've owned in my life. My favorites, which is just my favorites list: Nintendo 64, Nintendo Entertainment System, GameCube, Wii, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 with one game, Scott Pilgrim, PSP, Super Nintendo, and Windows for modern games or old school Windows games, whatever. So you can hear, I mean, I'm gonna make it loud. There's no sound. And that's the way I like it. I don't want to hear shit if I'm, I just don't want it to. Well, actually, I take it back. You can hear there's like a little sound effect when you change platforms, but to me, it's just nicer. So anyway, oh, and by the way, there's all these different themes you can use for big box, and this is a sort of an amalgamation of a few. I just kind of like the information it gives. I like the purple. I'm a big, I don't know why, I love purple. I like the background and I like the startup and the game load screen. So we'll go through that. So anyway, all you do, and all this does, is switch between platforms. So let's say I want to play a PlayStation 2 game. Well, I could map whatever buttons I want to go into the menu, but I just have it real simple. Hit this one. Okay, well, here's my PlayStation 2 games. And again, we're just going through the games. And you'll hear not every game has a video. Most of them do. So that's PlayStation 2. If I want to go to Super Nintendo, I just hit on that and here we go. We're just looking at every single Super Nintendo. Let's turn it down. Every single Super Nintendo game. If I want to jump to a game, I just hit left on the joystick. Yeah, there you go. And I can just go here and go, oh, let's get to S. Boom. Now we're on S. So it's just clean and it just works. That's kind of cool. Like if you play your most recent games. If I go to PSP, I've been obsessing on Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which you have to unlock through Castlevania X Chronicles. So that's one I've been playing the most of. So I don't even have to go into the menu. I can just use the joystick and do the games, the 5 or 6 most recent games I've played, and start from there. So that's cool. And then of course you have settings whatever. You can do as many settings as you want. You know, there's tons of personalization, but essentially all I care about is here are the platforms I play. I get in and there are the games. For instance, let's go to arcade or MAME. I know that MAME fan, when he was showing his build, he had like 5 versions of every single game. And when you import your ROM set into Launchbox, which is very easy, it is super easy importing ROMs into Launchbox with your games. It basically defaults to not having it duplicate. So when you're looking here at all of my arcade games, there's no duplicates. There's no duplicates, and in the entire of all the games here, which is I think 2,800, something like that, there was like 4 that didn't work. And it wasn't that they didn't work, it was that I didn't know how to make them work, because there's something called a CHD file, which some games need additional ones. And you just Google it, you'll figure it out. But basically, I think I have no games or 1 game that doesn't work. But there's no duplicates. It's just awesome, So if Sprint 4, this is great. I wanted this to be favorite. Well, I can just go in here and add it to my favorites that way. So you can customize buttons. Like here I have it, I think I have this one that will just spin. Yeah, I hold down this one and it'll just spin all the games. Kind of like selecting a random game, but not really. But it just, you can, well, what does it end on? Let's play that. Tetris 2 Plus. What else can I say here? I love big box. I forget how much it was to pay for, but I love the idea that you can, let's start a game up and I'll show you like what you get. We'll go into arcade and we will play Tetris. So if I launch up Tetris just simply by hitting the start button, because that's the logical thing to do, you get to this nice loading screen. And then of course, this is your classic MAME startup. Now, bezels, okay, so the artwork that you find on the side, there's something called the Bezel Project, which works with MAME, and it works with a few other RetroArch cores and some other things. So it automatically will give you really nice bezels for basically every game. So I have it all taken care of for arcade, all taken care of for NES, SNES, and Atari. It's just great. It just works really well. So if I want to exit, I'm just going to hit the exit button, and this will be your exit back to here screen. And then you go fire something else up, and it just fucking works. So basically, that's it. This is my review of the Rec Room Masters cabinet. I think it's an amazing purchase. And to be fair, I'm not really talking shit about anyone who spends 4 times this amount or 3 times this amount on a fancy pre-made cab. But if you're like me and you're finicky about things, like you don't like, this intro video bugs you or that bugs you, it really behooves you to do it yourself. And it's not complicated. If you want to just start with arcade, then just find the most recent MAME ROM set, add it to Launchbox, and that's it. Just make that your arcade for then. And you probably won't have to do anything, and it'll just work. It just always works. And then when you want to ramp up and add another platform, do that, and you'll learn. Like, I got to make sure that if I want to get artwork for everything, I have to make sure that I'm scraping the right place for it. But generally, it's just kind of easy, and especially with the Rec Room Masters, everything just works. I didn't touch on the quality of the controllers, but I love the HAP joysticks and buttons. I love them. I'm not like, I play a lot of arcade games in the arcade when I was younger, but I'm not like a connoisseur of like Sanwa versus this versus that. I probably would have liked most things, but I do like these bat style HAP sticks. They're just comfortable to play, and the buttons are just the perfect, the concave. Speaking of buttons, they've got to button mash the hell out of this game. I just love them. The only other thing I have going on here, and I can't remember if I talked about the glass or not, because this is the second time I've recorded this video, but if in case I haven't, The only upgrade I've made on this entire cabinet is I took the plexiglass they gave. I had a little scratch in mine, and I had a local company here cut me a piece of tempered rounded edge glass that Rec Room Masters gave me the measurements for, and it's amazing, cheap, 32 bucks, and it's just crystal clear. You can clean it easily, but that's the only upgrade, quote unquote, that I felt that I needed to make, and that's it. So this is my Rec Room Masters cab. I'm running, I have a PC running Launchbox Big Box, and I think the combination of those things is really the way to go for an affordable but super powerful arcade cabinet. All right, dudes and gals, enjoy.